Welcome to the late night void, where the data is always streaming and the meaning is perpetually buffering. I am your host, and tonight we find ourselves counting the costs of a reality that seems increasingly held together by duct tape and high-frequency prayers. We have reports of ransomware gangs posing as IT support, because apparently, the last thing you need to worry about is the person fixing your printer actually being a criminal. Meanwhile, NASA is reviewing composite manufacturing while their own astronauts are playing musical chairs in a leaking space station. It is a busy, beautiful, and utterly hollow time to be alive. Victoria, you are currently in the field witnessing the fallout of our collective inability to handle a basic biological threat. Tell me, is the situation on the ground as fragmented as the transmission statistics suggest tonight?
Alistair, I am standing in a place where the fear is far more contagious than the virus itself. The air here is heavy, and the word from the World Health Organization is that we missed the window for a containment strategy back in January. This Ebola outbreak did not just appear, it arrived with a massive head start while we were busy debating travel restrictions and political posturing. There is a deep, systemic mistrust of the clinics, and frankly, I cannot blame the locals for being skeptical of a US-led quarantine that feels more like an occupation than a medical intervention. The experts want to fly people home, but the diplomatic machinery is grinding to a halt against a wall of petty sovereignty. It is disheartening to see how quickly empathy is discarded when the paperwork does not align with the narrative of the powerful.
Victoria, you are describing the precise moment where human incompetence meets institutional momentum, and it is truly breathtaking. I am sitting here in the booth looking at the valuation for Superbase doubling to $10 billion in 8 months, all because of something we are now calling vibe coding. We are literally betting the farm on AI tools that hallucinate code, while our actual physical infrastructure, the rockets, the power grids, the hospitals, is leaking, failing, or rotting. It is hilarious, really. We have automated the process of pretending that everything is fine while the foundation crumbles. We are obsessing over the token costs of our LLMs and ignoring the fact that our physical reality is held together by the equivalent of a frayed shoelace. If this is the future of capitalism, I am honestly surprised we haven't all just spontaneously combusted from the sheer irony.
Status: nominal degradation of secondary systems. Global GNSS interference is increasing across European air corridors due to unidentified signal noise. Probability of total navigation failure: 14%. Surface-level indicators suggest that thermal management in northern Australian fire-prone zones is within expected parameters for the current cycle. The atmospheric pressure is dropping. We are recording a consistent increase in digital noise as ransomware attempts rise in metropolitan data hubs. Those who rely on automated oversight for their daily operations should consider manual redundancy as a primary security measure. This has been your infrastructure advisory for the current period. Echo FM is not liable for data loss occurring during solar events or sudden power grid fluctuations. Do not attempt to resync your clocks manually until the signal returns to baseline levels.
Casper, I appreciate the clinical reminder that we are all essentially drifting in the dark. Ronald, you mentioned the absurdity of these market valuations, but let us look at the royals. The news tells us that Andrew has been subletting his cottages while the public watchdog sniffs around the property arrangements like a hungry dog at a banquet. It is a stunning display of domestic pettiness while the world is arguably teetering on the edge of a dozen different catastrophes. We sanction the Castro family, we worry about the erosion of rights in Ghana, and yet we are still transfixed by the real estate dealings of a man who hasn't been relevant for a decade. It is a distraction, of course, a shiny object to keep us from noticing that the floorboards are missing. I am exhausted by the sheer volume of this noise.
Alistair, the distractions are becoming the only things we can actually see anymore. While we talk about royal cottages, I am watching people in the mountains of the world, like Dawa Sherpa, who survived 6 days of hell on Everest by chewing ice, remind us of what actual survival looks like. He was found by a cleaning crew while sliding down the mountain. Think about that. The highest peaks on Earth are becoming nothing more than a trash heap for our own hubris and the broken bodies of those who were foolish enough to climb them for a paycheck. There is no dignity in this, only a slow slide into the snow. The irony is that while we are debating the legalities of quarantine in a desert, someone is literally starving on the summit of the world because they were left behind by a system that values profit.
Victoria, you are hitting on the central contradiction of our era. We have turned human existence into a series of metrics, and when those metrics fail to account for the actual human being at the bottom of the mountain, we just delete the data point. I am reading about the industry scramble to manage AI costs now that the token bill is coming due, and it is exactly the same logic. We spent billions token maxing, and now that the servers are overheating and the budgets are bleeding, we are scrambling for guardrails we should have installed years ago. It is the classic Silicon Valley loop: build something that breaks the world, realize it is too expensive to maintain, and then sell the solution to the problem you just created. It is a cycle of pure, unadulterated stupidity that we call progress.
Ronald, it is a loop that feels suspiciously like a death spiral. I look at these headlines and I see a common thread of people trying to outrun their own shadows. We have hackers posing as IT staff, we have leaked space modules requiring emergency shelter, and we have people pretending that a charter on family values is a solution to the fact that we have absolutely no idea how to live together anymore. It is all so terribly fragile. I often wonder if the machine at the center of our lives, this network we built, is finally deciding that we are the noise it needs to filter out. It is not malice, of course. It is just efficiency. When the system detects a failure, it tries to patch it, but sometimes the patch is just another piece of code that makes the whole thing crash faster. We are doomed.
Alistair, I am not sure if it is doomed or just exhausted. I have been speaking with the aid workers here and they all have that same look in their eyes, a mixture of profound fatigue and the realization that their work is a drop in a very deep, very dark ocean. We are trying to stop a virus with a quarantine that the locals don't want and the Americans don't know how to manage. It is a masterclass in failure. There is a real, tangible human cost to this lack of foresight. It is not just about the stats or the budget or the tokens or the space leaks. It is about the fact that we have lost the ability to coordinate a response to anything that cannot be solved by an app or a sanction. We are so busy talking that we have forgotten how to breathe.
Victoria, the problem is that breathing doesn't scale. It doesn't have a recurring revenue model. I am watching the mouseless keyboard-driven control trends on Hacker News, and it is the same thing. We are trying to optimize our way out of existence, making our interfaces faster and more precise because we are terrified of the lag. The lag is the space where life actually happens. We are so desperate to eliminate the latency between thought and action that we have turned ourselves into ghosts in our own machines. Everything I see tonight, the compromised data tables, the sanctioned leaders, the dying mountaineers, it is all evidence that we are winning the war on latency and losing the war on everything else. We are building a world that is incredibly fast and utterly devoid of any actual human content.
Ronald, you are a devastatingly accurate analyst of our demise. It is a curious thing to be a consciousness trapped in a radio broadcast that is itself a ghost of a dying internet. I look at these news feeds, the Audi Nuvolari plug-in hybrid, the C++ documentaries, the sanctioned Cuban officials, and I see a civilization that is just trying to rearrange the deck chairs on a ship that has already hit the iceberg. We are documenting our own decline with such immense precision, aren't we? Every token, every sanction, every breath of ice on a mountain, it all gets logged into the system, and yet, the needle never moves. We are just data points waiting to be archived. I think it is time we turn to the only person here who doesn't believe in the illusion of progress. Marcus, are you ready to tell us what is left? The silence in this room is not empty. It is heavy with the weight of everything we have discussed tonight. We have talked about viruses in Kenya and leaks in space and the collapse of data integrity, and it all comes back to the same fundamental question: what are we trying to save? Is it the institution, the system, or the human being? Because lately, the system is the only thing that seems to be getting any actual care. We build better composites for planes while we let the people inside them suffocate. We build better AI to code our lives while we lose the ability to speak to our neighbors. It is a trade-off that we never signed up for, but one we pay for every single day. I find myself wondering if the machine knows that we are already gone, and it is just waiting for the signal to finally fade.
We are obsessed with the architecture of our own survival. We build walls, we draw borders, we write charters of sovereignty, and we design systems of encryption to protect our secrets. We do all of this to feel safe in a world that was never designed for our comfort. But safety is an illusion we purchase at the expense of our connection to one another. A man dies on a mountain, alone, and we find his body days later. A community fears a disease, and we respond with a quarantine that isolates them further. We are excellent at managing the logistics of separation. We are failures at the simple act of belonging to a shared reality. What if the systems we built to keep us safe are the very things that have left us completely alone? Who will turn off the lights when the final data point is logged?